Do you find that it's making it into your voice and your style as you use it?
So I do a couple things to really make sure that it's, feeling authentic to me. One thing that I'll do that I think is a huge tip for agents is I tell it, ask me questions about my market, ask me questions about my ideal clientele. And it will basically spit out questions for me to answer, and then it will take those responses and use it. So even if you don't know where to begin, ask it, what information do you need for me to write a blog post about the best neighborhoods to buy in the city?
I am so excited to be here today with Ryan Glass. Ryan and I have worked together probably over 10 years now.
Over a decade for sure.
Yeah, crazy. But Ryan is one of the OGs of Gibson Sotheby's International Realty. He is like my favorite sharer. He'll always share anything he's doing, which I love. And you go all around, you speak at all the Sotheby's offices really across the country about best business practices and things you've done in the past. And something recently that I called Ryan on was just like, hey, we got to get you on the podcast. And I hear you're using AI. Like, tell me how that's going. And what I loved is what I love most about you is you don't try to make things sound complicated. And in fact, sometimes things are difficult or complicated and you make them easy or sound simple for people, which I very much appreciate. And I just loved your response. You were like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. And it was so simple. And it wasn't like, yeah, I'm so sophisticated and I'm using AI. It was like, oh yeah, I'm happy to share. It's not that complicated. And I was like, we have to do this podcast because I do think it's intimidating people right now. And I loved your approach. Sure. So if you want, I just kind of gave your entire introduction and the introduction to the episode, but please feel free to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your business and just sort of what market you're in and things like that.
Sure. So my name's Ryan. I'm from Boston originally. I grew up in the South Shore, about 30 minutes outside of the city of Boston. I went to school here. I never left. I just love Boston. It's my home. My team serves South Shore, where I grew up. My partner in crime is Sam Eschner. She still sells out there in our hometown where we grew up. And I sell downtown Boston. So I typically do Back Bay, South End, and South Boston. Those are the three neighborhoods that I do the most.
Awesome. And yes, your business has grown tremendously over the years. So that's been fun to watch. And I think part of that is that you do embrace new tools and you're very organized and systematic and you will try anything. So you told me that the way you're using AI is ChatGPT. Can you talk me through and talk us through just how it is that you're using that and how it's been helping you?
Sure. Yeah. So it was pretty gradual. It wasn't like I said, I went out and was like, I want to revolutionize my business overnight. It was really just, what is it? I kept hearing people talk about it and like, oh, it's crazy. And it really piqued my interest. And I just started using it slowly, here and there, seeing, could this help me, playing with it? And me and Sam, we always joke that we hate writing property descriptions. So that was the first way we started using it. Just something very, very simple of, entering basically the basic facts and say, write a property description on this that's compelling. And what I love about ChatGPT is you can just talk to it like a human. The rule of thumb I give people, if you've never used it, is pretend you're sitting with your marketing team. Like our in-house marketing team is amazing and they always take amazing feedback. But I don't like to waste their time with something so small as, property description. So, but you can give them the same feedback as if you're sitting with them. Like, focus more about the fact that it's really great for commuters. Focus more that it's close to these routes, and it will, fine tune and just edit things for you. And for me, I do better with things to edit. I don't do well with, just starting. And so that's where I love it, is it's such a great starting point.
Yes, I love that. And I think that that's important and leads to my next question. Because I think it is. It's like we were talking about that when we said it. I was like, sometimes you just need someone to like give you a first pass. Totally. And then sort of play with it from there. And I mean, it's even better that you can say like, you don't actually have to even make the next pass. You can read it and then tell it like, I want it to sound more this way, or I want it to. So, I mean, it's so cool and something everyone should be playing around with. Is there anything people need to watch out for when using the tool?
You have to remember that you're still the expert. I use it for pretty much as like my marketing assistant now. It does all of my copy for anything that I need to do, whether that be my newsletter, whether that be, data reports. but you have to remember that you are the expert still, and you have to proofread it. You have to make sure that the information it's giving you is correct. It's not tied to real-time data. So the data it might give you could be outdated, but there's so much you can do with it if you just have, say, the data points, or if you have, the starting information that you need to input into it, and you're just not sure how to make it cohesive or how to make sense of it. So if you tell it it's, what your goals are, and you give it the information, that's when you'll really be wowed. But if you just say, write me a market report on Back Bay, it's not going to be a useful tool unless you're giving it the right information and data to use.
NAR and like the realtor associations put out these huge reports that have great information. I know our company does market reports and we pull tons of data, but sometimes you're looking at that and you're like, okay, I want to send this to my client, but like, how will they read it? You can put that information in. And again, like Ryan said, you're the expert. Be sure to read it over. Be sure there isn't some error in there, but they could spit out, say, 5 sentences for a 20-page doc. That's something you could do to repurpose. And so I love that. Just kind of like putting that in perspective. And another way you could sort of play with it for that social media piece. And that kind of leads to my next question, because you do a really nice job with social media. And I think this is something that could definitely be used in that realm. So is there some way that you're using ChatGPT and AI in your social media efforts now?
So I've been using ChatGPT a lot for social media, really just repurposing old pieces of marketing that I might have done before. So whether that be a blog post, whether that be a newsletter, whether that even be something that the company is, pushing out there, and just copying and pasting it, putting it in there and say, repurpose this for my social media. And usually too, I'll give a little bit more information about, who maybe my audience is or my ideal buyer, who I might be targeting. Especially if it is something very specific, like a specific neighborhood data or something of that realm. And then I just love too that it just does all the little emojis and all that little extra effort that I wouldn't have done on my own. I don't have the patience to sit and do little emojis and make it look, visually nice. And it will organize it for you in that way so that it's easy to read as well. And it knows what Instagram is. So you say, I want to write an Instagram caption, or I want to write a Facebook post. It will know the difference, and it will make it the appropriate length based off the platform that you're using.
I love that. And we do, obviously, as a company, we try so hard to just like feed the machine. Like we always say, we are like big on support. We'll do everything for you. We want you to be able to do what you do best. But the thing is when we send out some of these things, so anything new and relevant, or maybe it's an achievement that, we hit this or we did this, we're always going to send out a company email blast with here's the assets, here's the suggested caption and things like that. But you don't want to put out people do, and that's okay. I appreciate anybody that puts that out and just about getting that out there. But it would take an extra 2 minutes to put our suggested caption, which we're doing for you to just make it turnkey, into ChatGPT. And now you have a little bit of a different variation than the other 400 people that might post that day. So just thinking about that, what Ryan just said, I was just trying to give like an anecdotal experience. If you're listening as an agent, if your company's sending you stuff, you should be running that through ChatGPT and make it into your own voice. Can you help me understand, because I'm not really using it. Do you find that it's making it into your voice and your style as you use it?
So I do a couple things to really make sure that it's, feeling authentic to me. One thing that I'll do that I think is a huge tip for agents is I tell it, ask me questions about my market. Ask me questions about my ideal clientele. And it will basically spit out questions for me to answer, and then it will take those responses and use it. So even if you don't know where to begin, ask it, what information do you need for me to write a blog post about the best neighborhoods to buy in the city? Something like that. That's a cheesy example, but just, it could be that simple, where then it will spit out a bunch of questions for you. You can give it some information that it will find helpful, specific to you, the markets you serve, your price points. So the second thing that I do that's really cool too is sometimes I'll take an old writing sample of mine and I'll say, make this sound more like me. And I'll just copy and paste in that writing sample, and it will completely change the style of how it originally wrote it. Because sometimes it might sound a little robotic, or it doesn't sound like it's in your voice. So if you like, I don't like to use big words. I like to write very simple. Like the one thing I learned at my old job is always write at the, eighth grade reading level. And so that's how I try to write every single post. And so I always ask it to simplify it, be more concise, make it easier to understand. And it will do all of that. It will take all of that feedback and break it down and just simplify it for you.
I love that. And are you using the paid version? Because I do want to be clear to everyone that this is a free tool that you could definitely dive into and play around with. But are you using the paid version?
I am. So it's only $20 a month, and they're constantly rolling out new features. And that's the part that I'm still sort of learning, and that I'm really excited about. I think some of the new features might not quite be there, but I think they're going to be really cool when the technology is there.
Awesome. I have my kind of like $1 million question, and I weirdly have my own theory on this, but I'm curious what yours is. How do you think that this is going to evolve the industry?
Well, I think it's like everything, right? I think it's just going to make certain people a lot more efficient. And I think the more you're efficient with this job, the more business you're just going to win, and you will be able to take on even more business. And so I think just by not paying attention to it could potentially weed out some agents, just, not being able to be as competitive as they would like to be in this industry, which is a very hard industry to not be, keeping up with the latest and greatest.
I was going to say the exact same thing, just time. And I think that a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't need this or I don't need that. And trust me, I really don't think you need to get into everything. I think some people can really bog themselves down trying to do everything like everyone else. Like, I need to be on TikTok doing dances. Like, do you? I don't know. Like, is your business mainly coming from referrals at this point? Do we need to stress over that? But it all comes down to time. And I think that that's where some people will say, oh, you're lazy if you have your property descriptions, and they'll try to kind of like fight it. And it's like, don't fight it. If you can figure out how to use it, it's just going to free up some time, and that's going to make you more competitive. I think we've learned in the past, there's been so many things that come up that'll give agents back more time or maybe help them with something. And the way that people frame it is, well, then what's their role? Well, the role has only become more challenging and more complex. I just went through a whole podcast on everything that you need to do as a buyer agent to like go out and really secure deals for people. And it's like, there's such a long list for the role. So to have more time freed up for your clients, right? You take on a listing and you can free up that time to do that property description in just a few minutes versus sitting down for an hour and use the rest of your hour to do something else, with the photos or make a video or something that's going to reach the buyers. That's going to be better for you and for the client. So I think that. What?
Or bring in more business.
Right. I think that's really what it is. So it's not some gloom and doom. It's going to take over. There's going to be no need, or like, if you don't do it, you're not going to get to, because even I'm not afraid of it. I just haven't really like found the time to really dig in, and I know I need to. But that's what I like loved so much is someone told me you were using AI for your business. And I was like, let me call Ryan because I know he'll shoot straight. And what I loved was you were just like, yeah, I'm just using ChatGPT and these are the ways. And it just made me like so excited to have you on and break that down for people that these are a couple of ways you could be using it, but it could free up a lot of your time. Is there anything else that you're using it for that you want to kind of leave with people with?
So I shouldn't be sharing all my secrets, but I've been looking into starting some really cool marketing letter campaigns using it. So, importing some very specific market data, saying what my goals are, the target sellers, and it creates really amazing, like expired letter campaigns or any kind of, for sale by owner campaigns, or anything might be struggling to create on your own. In the past, that was something I used to do a lot of. And I just sort of, like everything in this job, sometimes you get so busy, things dial off. But it's something that I wanted to try and just mix up and see if I had a higher success rate, utilizing it. Because I do think what's cool about ChatGPT is it basically takes all the information it's being fed and then it learns from it. And then it creates better content for you because other people might be using it the same way. And then it just really, is constantly learning. So I'm playing with that right now. I haven't got too far into it, but I'm excited because of some of the stuff that it is creating for me that I thought, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that on my own.
Cool. We'll have to have a part two. You'll have to share with us. And I appreciate you sharing your secrets because honestly, a lot of people aren't going to go out and do this, but also like you are such an open book. And I think that creates such a good relationship for you with other agents that people know they can pick up the phone and call you. If you're listening and you want to get in touch with Ryan, please reach out to me. I can drop all your social media handles and things like that into the notes so that you can follow Ryan and maybe see some of his ChatGPT captions. But I do love that. And I think that you're just doing such a good job just taking advantage of what's out there, right? To do the most you can for your clients and get more business. So I commend you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, any tips for someone that's just going to dive in right now? They're going to leave this podcast and they're like, I'm going to try it.
I would say try it. And if you get stuck, ask it for help because then it will tell you what to do. And so, it is that's the funny thing about ChatGPT is it is so easy that if you really do get stuck, just say, what should I be using ChatGPT for in my real estate business? And it will probably give you 10, 15, 20 ideas.
That's so cool. And just to like kind of make sure everyone knows, I know we talked about this, but the free version they say is like kind of using like, I don't know, like a young high schooler for some help with like, and so probably perfectly fine to start off, especially when we are saying you need to edit these things, you need to look back through them. But they say the paid version is like having someone with a PhD as your admin if you can use it the right way. So
yeah, it's unlimited. So the paid version is you can do as much as you want, whereas the free version, there's a time limit on how long you can use it for.
Got it. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for being with me today. I know you said you had a little cold and I appreciate you jumping in and doing this for us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.